I'm continuing Jean's wedding ring quilt, and I quilted a little bit yesterday, but then things came up, I had to shut down. I quilted the skirts and the 4-patch in this wedding ring, and I also have the 4-patch over here quilted, and I have the melons, the vertical and the horizontal melons in around that, and the center pattern in the big area of this block. So now I'm going to do a relocate, and I have the machine sitting so that the needle is right at that point right there. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to turn on my end snap, go down, relocate, shift all to one point, and it is going to snap to that, or it should snap, but I turn on my end snap. It snaps to that point, click yes, and that'll relocate my project. I need to do this, the skirt and the skirt here, do these patterns. So now I'm going to put all of those in place, and then I will come back. Before I do that, I'm going to show you, I have a P2P curve here that I modified, and look at the size of it. I have it set at 1.28 the height and 9.31 the length, or the width. And I have this other P2P curve 1 that I have set to 0.25 or quarter inch, and this is what I'm going to use to put the pattern in to stitch these little blocks in the melon. My P2P is set for P2P pattern, and I have this pattern. It is a P2P pattern. I'm going to select my P2P icon by just scrolling over with the upper right 6-button key. Scroll over to that, right click, or click the lower right button. Now if I click the lower right button again, it will start putting in these patterns. And one of the things with this pattern, you have to figure out what direction to do your clicking so that the pattern ends up where you want it to be. So I'm just going to go and start putting pattern on these. Each one of these little pieces, these little blocks in this melon, I want a curve on each side of that line. So I'll just click all of these, and when I see, I just click across the bottom edge of that, and then up to the upper edge and back, and that puts a curve on each side of the seam. And when I get to this last one, I'll just come across the left hand side of that, and I'll click in the intersection of each seam between those little blocks, and that puts that curve in there the way I want it to be. Back to my start point. Now I'm going to go up on this side of this one, and then go and do the other half of this skirt, and that makes it sure that all of these little blocks are secured and they're stitched in. I'm coming back, hitting each intersection. This is where I started doing this. I'll hit stop, and then I'll hold down the upper right, press the lower right, and that exits out of the P2P pattern mode. Now I'm ready to stitch this melon out, or not the skirts around the melon. All of the blocks in the skirts have been stitched, and I'm ready now to put these melon patterns in here and the center block pattern. But before I do that, I'm going to show you how I do this little four patch where all these skirts, everything meets here in this four patch. So I'll show you how I click all of that so that I can do it continuously. Every time I do anything, I try to get a path that I can continuously click from where I started and get back to that point. So I'll get my pattern here, my P2P, and here's what I do is I get this one area, then I go over across these two little blocks, and then I come straight back, clicking the points where the blocks meet, and go down to the bottom and across. Now I'm going to catch these seams in between these blocks in this direction and come straight back, and then go over to the corner and right on around and back to where I started, and everything will stitch continuously. Now I'm ready to stitch out that four patch. This four patch has been stitched out, and I'll do these melon patterns, these little skirt patterns, when I do this next block. But now I'm going to go back and put the patterns in this block and get those stitched out. Go over to this group, and here is what I was working on yesterday. And I need to do a relocate, so I'll just move my machine so that it is right in this corner of this. This is the left end of this horizontal melon. And see, I put these in and I changed them to a boundary. They were patterns. I changed them to a boundary, and I'll show you how I did that here after I get relocated. This is now a pattern. I toggled it back as a pattern. I'll select this. I see I combined them. This was two patterns, and I combined them. I'll right click, and I have the end snap turned on. I'm going to relocate, shift all to one point, and click my left click with the mouse. Click yes. Now I have located everything, and you can see that the boundaries I had from before are out of place. So I'll just get rid of those. And now I'm going to leave this as a pattern, but I'm going to select it and toggle it as sewn. So now I'm going to go and put in the outline of the melons that are going to be here in this area. Let's go back to the skirts, and that will be the outline of this melon, and this one, and this one. Then I'll put an outline of this center block. I'll show you what I'm doing. This pattern I'm going to use is the one here, P2P curve modified, and I changed it, and you see that the height is 1.28 and the width is 9.31. So I get rid of this boundary. So doing it that way, I can click the end point. I can click like an end point, and then this end point, and then back this end point again, and that will put a curve here and a curve there. Then I'll adjust it. So I'm going to go and put those in so you can see how that works. See, I'm on the left end of this horizontal melon. I'll just go over and get my P2P icon. And when I click, and to click the other end, it's going to put in one of those. See it put in the one up at the top. Now I'm back to the beginning, and I'll click again, and it'll put the other one in. I'll just hit stop. Now, I'm going to go and click this vertical melon. And I'm going to come back after I do this and adjust and make sure that these fit the sides of that perfectly. Click stop again, and I'm going to do the same thing with this center block. I put these in, and I did this pattern, adjusted it so that it would fit these blocks and these melons pretty much perfect. Get out of that. First thing I'll do is I'll put my needle right at the top edge of this horizontal melon, and I'll go over and take a look and see how it fits in there. And if I need, I will adjust it. I'll zoom in so we can see. You can see that's pretty close right there. I'm not going to do anything with that. And we'll check the bottom arc and see how that looks. Because I want an outline so that when I put this pattern in there, it's going to be fairly perfect. Now, these are individual patterns. That's a pattern, but I need to adjust this one. And what I'm going to do is just push it up to that point. Now, probably the end over here, I'll change the anchors to the end anchors. And I have hinge snap on, so I'll change that, make sure it's snapped. Okay, I think if we zoom in, we can see that that's going to be very well. That looks good. See, and I'll do the same thing with the big block. I'll check those curves to make sure they have fit the way I want them to, and if necessary, I'll adjust them. I like doing this. It takes a little bit of time. I like doing this better than clicking a zillion little points. I hate clicking a bunch of points. It's just not what I want to do. Change my anchors to edge anchor, and I'm going to pull that up to right there. I'll do each arc that way. See, this is what for a long time I have wanted to be able to do a 3-point arc with the machine head. I'm going to click that and move it a little bit. Pull it over here. And I move the machine around so that I can see. And that one is almost perfect. I'll pull it down a little tiny bit. Okay, I'll check this last one. Okay, I'll check this last melon. Once I get everything adjusted, I'm going to convert pattern to boundary on all of these. And you see that one is off somewhat, but it's not a big deal. Adjust the other side. See, it needs to be pulled out. I want this one. Pull it out a little bit. And that looks good. Okay, I'm going to do now is just, I'll combine the pattern before it can be converted to a boundary. Convert pattern to boundary. Do the same thing down here. And every once in a while, and I have no idea why it does this, I'm just going to do a little. Okay, now everything's going to work. Little quirk in the program here. Get back down here where you belong. Turn on the end anchors. You see what can happen? And I have no idea why some of this stuff happens. Okay. I'll just turn off that end anchor. I need all of these. Combine them. Then I can select it, convert it to a boundary. Can do the same thing with this one. Combine, convert. Now I have all my boundaries. I can put in my melon patterns. Only need two, one vertical, one horizontal. So here's my vertical melon, and I will just get my icon, or not that one, cancel, the repeat patterns, move my needle so that it is in the melon block, click OK. I'll come back later and adjust these. I just want to get the pattern in there. I need the center block, and then I need the horizontal melon. Get my pattern. All I need to do now is go and adjust everything to fit in this. Let me get the end anchors so that I can just grab this and move it. Adjust it to fit in there. Okay, that got that one. I'm going to do the same with the horizontal. Looks pretty good, really. And I need to adjust this end. Go up, select the big one, get my edge anchors. I can move this. And I don't think I need to do anything with that. I believe those will all stitch out for just the way I want them to. Something I have wanted in Creative Studio for a long time is the ability to draw a three-point arc with the machine head. I can go Alt-A and I can draw an arc by using 3 points. I'll just go here and click a point, click another point, then another point here, and there I have a really nice smooth arc. I would like to be able to do that with the machine head, and we have not had that capability I'm just hoping that in at version 7 that maybe that's available. But what I have done in the past is here I have the geometric line, and I've used it, and I have kind of, it's a process that's more or less a 2-stage process, and I'm going to go over and get the P2P icon, and this is a valid P2P pattern, and I'm going to take and start in the corner of one of these blocks, the center block, and I'll put a point, click a point in the corner, then I'm going to click a point halfway across, and then in the other corner. Now I have those segments that I can use. So here's what it looks like though, like this. This is an individual pattern and this is an individual pattern. What I do now is I take the Alt-A, which is draw an arc, turn on the end snap, click it there, to there, to there. Now that gives me my arc, and then I can just go and delete these segments. So I've put in some other points, and I'm going to go Alt-A again and click these. And continue. Now I have those arcs in, and I can go and get rid of the lines, the geometric lines, and I'll have smooth arcs around that. Now I'm just going to test this and show you that this is in fact a fairly accurate way of doing this, because I'm following right along that. And you can see as I follow it, I stay on it. See, right there's the center point, and it's right on it. Here's the center point over here, and the center point there. And that's pretty good. And this is the center point on this one. See, that's a good way to draw those in, and I could put the pattern right in that. So another thing I can do now is just combine these, combine the patterns, then convert it pattern to a boundary. And I could go and get my block pattern, put it on the screen. I can either just put it in, or I can just put it somewhere, grab it, move it over right into this block. Another good idea is I'm going to get rid of that, toggle all of this as sewn, and I've got this boundary selected, have my pattern selected. I'll go to pattern to boundary. I have it set on stretch. I'll just click on that, and it's going to put that pattern in there. But look what it did. See, it did not do this very well. So that's not a good idea. The best idea is just to put that pattern in there. My method I usually use is to put the machine as close to the center of that block as I can get it, and just go right here, and it is set for center, so when I click it, it'll put that in the center of that block, and then I'll just have to adjust it a little bit, move it, get my side anchors. I like working with side anchors in this case. Move that right into place, and that is pretty fair right there. Now this one is a little bit off. I'll get my gray anchors. I'm going to move this, shift this just a little bit, like I think that's a little too far. Right there, that looks good. Go get my side anchors again. I like to have everything set for side anchors, leave it that way. So that's how I can do that. These are just ideas that you can use in your quilting. So I hope I help you.